So, free bite-sized masterclass series. Yes. Um, okay. So, I want to start with making sure that I actually can see you, that you know I'm here, and that you can ask questions. And we're live on multiple platforms. So that's good because we can get a lot of questions and a lot of feedback and a lot of your comments. So whatever you do, make sure that whenever you have a question about something that we discussed today and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, just make sure that you put your questions there in the comments so I can see them. All right. So that being said, I want to welcome you to our masterclass series, which is really a celebration of Black Friday. That's what I wanted to say. And then I got caught up by the many things going on around here. So, yes, this is to celebrate Black Friday. So, I wanted to start with this free series focused on people who manage people in teams and who want to perform at high levels, who want to manage their relationships well and successfully. So, this series is for you. And because we said series, I wanted to make sure that, first of all, I introduce myself and I let you know who I am and why I'm passionate about the topic. So, my name's Roxana, and I've been in this space of learning and development for a long time now. My experience is over 15 years in corporate learning and development in top legal consulting firms, and I've seen the struggles of people in managing their careers, in progressing in their careers, and especially when they start to manage a team and maybe manage more clients, manage different kinds of situations, and the struggles that come with more responsibility without necessarily having the skills to be able to deal with that. So that is why I started this masterclass series for those of you who want to take your skills muscles to the next level. For those of you who have that dream of being a dream leader, a dream boss, having a dream team or a dream business, and getting those skills muscles in place so that you're actually able to deal with everything. And now, for all of you who are dealing with clients as well, that's an important relationship management that you want to be able to handle, right? So, what we will be covering in this series, I wanted to make sure that I let you know what the plan is, because what's going to happen, I know you're busy people, we're all busy, we don't have time for long training sessions. So it's going to be bite-sized. That means half an hour every day on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And we are going to talk about high performance, as in getting the example of high performing athletes. I mean, they know something about high performance, right? And they know what it means to be able to perform at high levels. And I want to get things straight right from the beginning that high performance is not just the performance bit. It's also the preparation and it's also the recovery. So, high performance, when we talk about it, it's a cycle. So, if you manage teams, even clients, they go through the same cycle. So you need to think of all of these people that you're managing as high performing athletes, and they need their time for preparation. They have their time for performance, and then we do talk a lot about recovery as well, because you need to know how you can recover after you've been pushed to work so hard to perform at high levels and get that done and deliver that work on time, you need to be able to recover and know how you can do that. And that goes for your team as well. So as you go through this series, just keep in mind that you are thinking about yourself and your team together. Because what I often see happening with team managers or team leaders or business leaders is that because they're leaders, they exclude themselves from the team. And that's not the case. You as the team manager, the team leader, the business leader, you are part of the team. You're not a separate entity. Okay, so what we will be talking about today, talking about preparation. And often I tell people, okay, who ask me, where do I start, right? Fine, I need to prepare. I need to know stuff. But where do I start? Because there's so much that I feel I need to learn. Maybe I think I'm not good at managing people and teams. Maybe I think that I still need to learn a lot of things and I don't know what to start with. And I always tell them, well, look, start with emotional intelligence. And we are going to see why that's the case. And yes, I want to start with defining emotional intelligence. I think that's pretty important. And actually, working with lawyers for for a long time taught me that you need to define things before you actually start talking about them, right? So let's make sure that we're clear on what needs to happen here. So Daniel Goleman, and by the way, you start with emotional intelligence, absolutely go ahead and read the book, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. And he defines emotional intelligence in his book, Working with Emotional Intelligence. He says, emotional intelligence refers to the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves, and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. And I want to stop here a little and just say that this distinction between managing ourselves and managing emotions in our relationships, that's huge. That's the biggest part. And this is why I tell people, well, you need to start there, because what emotional intelligence teaches you is that you want to have better relationships and to be able to manage your relationships with others around you better. You need to start with yourself. Because if I'm not going to recognize my own triggers, if I'm not going to be able to understand them and work with them, then how am I going to possibly be able to work with other people's triggers and with other people's frustrations and anxiety and stress levels and everything? So that's why I think it's super important to start with defining emotional intelligence. And I also wanted to share this quote. This is a quote from J.D. Meyer, who is Director of Innovation at Microsoft. And I'm going to put this here for you for a while. I think it's absolutely relevant. Why? Because it talks about the importance of emotional intelligence at work. Because sometimes, you know how it is when we talk about emotional intelligence. Oh, it's all wishy-washy and it's all about feelings and emotions, and I don't have time for that. Well, let me tell you, you actually deal with that constantly, and especially now in this environment of crisis, especially whenever you're in a crisis, you are dealing with emotions and feelings a whole lot, yours and other people's. So it's not that you don't have time for that. You're dealing with that without even knowing that this is what you're dealing with. And sometimes it's a waste of time because we don't know how to deal with them. So I love this, especially that he says a lack of emotional intelligence is what limits some people in their ability to manage themselves, manage others, and manage situations. And I think now it's time for me to ask a question. And I will just put it here. Now, just think of a manager or a leader or somebody that you consider a good leader, um, or a successful leader, and think about the qualities that they possess that help contribute to their success. Because, and when I talk about leaders here, I specifically refer to people who need to manage teams. But if you think about it, I think you can also imagine, when you think about the answer to this question, people who don't necessarily have a title of leader or manager, but who are good at managing their relationships with others, or who are good at inspiring action, at inspiring movement, at taking others with them and having others follow them because the others start to believe in that goal. So what I'm saying is leadership is not necessarily a thing of hierarchy. I also believe leadership, true, genuine, authentic leadership, is about the legacy that you leave behind you and how you inspire people to work with you, to follow you, to take action because you're able to communicate a common goal. So that's an important question for you to think about and answer. And if you want to put the comment, put some stuff in the comments here, absolutely, you're welcome to do that. What would be some traits, some qualities of successful managers or leaders, in your opinion? Okay. And I want to move on to discuss the emotional intelligence impact on career, talking about the answer to the question. Because there is this study from the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development in the UK that says that nearly as much as 80% of the reasons why careers are derailed can be traced to weaknesses in emotional intelligence. And by the way, that was before the pandemic, the study. Right now, what I can say, that is crucial. And here are some primary causes of career failure, which I wanted to share here because I think that's also important, especially when we're making the connection between why emotional intelligence matters in our success, in how we feel about how successful we are and about how we are successful in work or at home, in our personal or professional life. It doesn't really matter, especially right now. The line is really thin, right? Okay. Yes, thank you, Dana. Honesty, good communicator, and inspirational. Well, exactly, right? And here we go, because these are qualities for people who are emotionally intelligent. I mean, communication, being able to communicate your message and inspire, that's a lot, right? And it says a lot about who you are as a leader generally in life. So, and thank you for that contribution. if anyone has any other comments to make about what makes a great leader, absolutely jump in. So we're talking now about the three primary causes of career failure: poor interpersonal skills, people who are not good team players, and who have difficulties in handling change. And I think that does not come as a surprise, especially right now. And then it just connects so well with what you just said: honesty, good communicator, and inspirational. Also, let's be a little bit positive as well, and let's look at the three predictors of career success, right? We talk about failure, career failure. Let's talk about career success as well. And it's the ability to deal with a diverse range of issues, to manage emotions, and to manage social skills, right? So how do we do that? Because we talk about that all the time, but do we really know what we need to do to be able to develop those skills and to master those skills? This is why I'm saying you go and start with emotional intelligence, because it all starts with ourselves. And look at this. I'm just going to briefly show you this. I talk about it extensively in my emotional intelligence online course, but I'm going to take you through the framework here because I think it's important. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, we look at this framework and we talk about our awareness when it comes to ourselves and to others. And also, we talk about behavior, so actions, when it comes to ourselves and others. So the reason I'm saying that it all starts with ourselves is because it does. It starts with self-awareness. If I'm not aware of what triggers me, of what makes me feel happy, what makes me feel sad, of what works for me or what doesn't work for me when I work with other people, if I'm not aware of that, I'm not able to manage that. If I'm not aware of what makes me frustrated when I don't get when I communicate with other people, it might be that I don't get responses from them, that they don't reply to me right away. Something happens that frustrates me. If I'm not aware of what happens that triggers that in me, then how am I going to be aware of what happens to the others around me, of what might frustrate them or make them stressed or anxious, or how do I know what they need from me as the team manager? What kind of instructions do they need? What kind of directions do they need from me if I am not self-aware? If I don't understand my own needs, how am I supposed to understand other people's? And then we move from self-awareness to behavior, because the moment when I'm self-aware, that's when I know how to manage my action and reaction to different kinds of situations, right? If I understand what triggers me and what I'd like to change, then I will look at possible ways in which I can change my behavior next time that I'm in a similar situation, so that it works better for me and for all of us in that team. So it all starts with self-awareness, really, and that's big, because a lot of us operate, or a lot of the time we operate in this autopilot mode, where we just do things because this is how it's done and this is how we created a habit of doing that, without necessarily understanding, hey, this might not work for me, and I think there's a better way. So that's the point when I start to think, okay, so next time I'm in this situation, I will do things differently. And then that is when I manage my behavior, when it's not going to be just an automatic response to the situation, but I'm actually managing my response in that situation. And that is when we can move all of this to others, right? When I'm self-aware, I can also be socially aware because I understand what triggers me, what makes me happy, what makes me sad, what makes me work well with others. And then I start noticing and I start to understand what makes others work well with me and with others around them. That's when I can develop empathy. And we talk about empathy a lot. And that's just, my ability to resonate, to understand, to capture, to notice, to capture how they might be feeling in that situation, and then understand it and resonate with that without necessarily flooding them with my own opinions and my own solutions. No, but understand that people are different, understand how they are different, and then start to understand how we can make all of these differences work well rather than prevent us from working together well. And then I can move to managing my relationships successfully because I'm aware of myself, I'm aware of others around me, and then I can work with that because I understand behavior and I look at what we can keep and what works for everybody. And then I can also look at what needs to change. But that is a discussion that we can actually have rather than a fight that we're gonna um, have, right? So, this is why I say that it all starts here. It all starts with emotional intelligence because it all starts with self-awareness. So, and if you're not convinced, here's why emotional intelligence is so important when we talk about team leaders, team managers. Look at this, because it gives you that ability to manage yourself, the self-awareness, to manage your emotions and pace your emotions. It provides a little bit of more optimism and self-confidence because that means that I can take control over my actions, right? And taking control over my actions means, and we're going to talk about that in 2 minutes in the mindset section, talking about taking control over our actions means that we're taking control over our results as well. Also, it helps you manage your team because you develop empathy, as I was saying. This is part of the social skills that we develop with emotional intelligence. And we understand what we can do to develop others around us because now we understand what we can do to develop ourselves. And then we're able to manage conflict and change. Also, because we're able to address um, difficult situations before they become a conflict situation. So we can even prevent conflict because we know how to address it rather than ignore a difficult situation until it becomes a big conflict, and that's more difficult to manage. And then we are able to manage the work better, right? Because I will understand what makes others motivated and engaged, what helps me feel motivated and engaged. So then I will have that achievement orientation and I will have more initiative, and I'm going to be able to adapt in different kinds of circumstances and find solutions because, again, we address them, we talk about that. And also managing collaboratively. And by the way, collaboration and flexibility, these are one of the top skills that you want to develop, especially in this continuously changing world. So influencing and inspiring others, inspirational, right? That's what you think about when you think about good leader or good manager. Fostering teamwork and organizational awareness. So all of these, when you talk about leadership, there's actually no conversation about leadership without talking about emotional intelligence skills? No, there is none. So you want to start somewhere, start with emotional intelligence. And because we talked about being self-aware, this is an exercise that I wanted to share with you, managing emotions. And just consider these circumstances. And you can just record your thoughts or just note them down if you want to. Think about how you react to these situations, or you can put your own situation. What is your response to cutting your finger or receiving a compliment or making a mistake at work or dealing with an angry client or coworker or team member? You can pick and choose. You can think about all of these. But it's a good exercise for self-awareness. And once you have your answer to this, what you can also do is think about what you would like to change in your behavior the next time that you're in a similar situation. That's easy. I know it's not easy, but it's useful. Okay, so I said that we were going to talk about mindsetting. And by the way, I say mindsetting, I think that's a verb because we mindset all the time, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. We set our mind one way or another every day. So that's for managing emotions. So that's a huge part actually of emotional intelligence. How am I going to be able to manage my emotions if I'm not able to recognize my emotions? So here we go. I really wanted to start with this quote because it's specifically related to results. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. And here's why. There is this theory by Rudi Shelley, and I want to introduce Rudi Shelley to you. He's one of the greatest acting professors that's ever existed. He worked with a lot of Hollywood stars and great theater actors. And his theory was for his students before playing in emotional scenes was, when you're in an emotional scene, don't go for the emotion. Go for the thought that triggers the emotion, and that will give you the behavior. And then the behavior feeds right back into your thoughts. Now I'm going to leave this here for a bit because I think that's important. And I know some of you probably have seen this, have known that, but it's we're going to work with this for a minute here. And what we're going to do is see how this theory applies in action. So what this means is I have a thought that makes me feel a certain way, and then that makes me do something a certain way. So taking action, behavior. And with that behavior, with that action, I get a result, or I don't get any result if I don't do anything, right? And then with that, it just feeds back into my initial thought. So what I want to show you here is an example of how this actually works in practice. And we're going to take two examples, actually. One is for inner resistance. So for when we have negative thoughts, and let's see what happens then. And then for when we change that thought, and then let's see what happens then. So if we think about it, when I present, I'm exposed to judgment and ridicule. That's it. That's what happens every time. Every time I present, this is what happens to me. Now, how does that make you feel? Think about it for a minute. You can share if you have an immediate response to this thought. It's a thought. It's a thought. And we do that all the time. We have thoughts all the time. We're just not aware of them all the time. But what we are aware of is how we feel. So when we think about this, oh, you're exposed and people are going to judge you, what we get is fear. I'm going to be afraid of even going out there and presenting. I will just want for that situation to stop, to finish already. And because I will be afraid, the way I will behave, so what I do, is going to be influenced by fear. And then my throat gets tight, right? Because I get that fight or flight response. My heart beats faster and I don't express my opinion clearly and lose control of the situation. Because I don't want to be there in the first place. Because I'm scared. Because I know that they will judge me and I'm gonna look ridiculous. So then, because my action is fueled by this, and because I'm not able to express myself clearly because I'm in this block, because I'm scared, what I get as a result, so the result of my own actions, is that I will feel that people attack my position because they will start questioning my logic, because probably there was no logic there in the first place because I didn't want to be there in the first place. And then I will feel that my ideas don't matter. And what our brain does in this situation is we feel we don't matter. We, as persons, as people, me as a person, I don't matter if my ideas don't matter. And then I'm just going to want to run and hide. And obviously, that result that I got is going to feed right back into my thoughts. Well, you see, it's how the confirmation bias works, people, right? But we confirm to ourselves, but with everything that we do, because we started from that thought where I was already seeing myself exposed to judgment and ridicule. And that made me feel afraid. And because I felt afraid, I could only act a certain way. And then because I could only act a certain way, obviously, I would only get this result. That's not the best result that I can get. And it's not the result that I was secretly hoping for, right? Okay. So let's change the thought. Okay, Dennett, thank you so much for joining. And yeah, come back for the replay. Absolutely. I know I will put the link for you guys to get the replay and the resources for those of you who can't stay. This is a session that is a little bit, we're going to run 5 minutes late. So now let's change the thought. Let's do a little bit of proper mind setting here. And then literally change that thought that was negative. Let's change it into something different that sounds a little bit better for me. When I present, I give people valuable information that they will appreciate. Now that's a different way of communicating that thought to myself, right? And then how that makes me feel is more enthusiastic, more excited about what's going to happen. And because I'm excited, then the way that I'm behaving is going to be influenced by that. So yes, my heart will still be faster, but it's because of the excitement. And I am able to express my opinion because the initial thought was I would give them valuable information. So I prepare for that. I prepare with valuable information that I can communicate and I want to make it a valuable conversation for everybody. And then the result that I'm getting is this, that people are going to be curious. And they might want to ask questions, and I'm not supposed to maybe know all of the answers to the questions, but I can research further. And then we are having a conversation, and I feel that I matter. And here is another confirmation bias where I think that result makes me think, yeah, you see? So when I present, I actually contribute value. I give them valuable information that they appreciate. So that's the reason I say that it's all personal and nothing is just business, because it all starts from what we think, how that makes us feel, and that influences our behavior, our actions, and definitely our actions have a huge influence on our results. And our results absolutely fuel our thoughts. So, all you have to do, people, if you want a quick fix, which it doesn't work this way, but just use the brackets, just change the thought. Whenever you get a thought that makes you feel the way you wouldn't want to feel for that particular situation because you need to take a different kind of action, just change the thought. Pay attention to how you feel and then change the thought so you feel something different. I know it's not as easy as it sounds. Sometimes we just feel something that we're not really sure of what that is. We can't pin it exactly. It's something that doesn't make us feel good, that doesn't invite to the kind of action that we know we should probably take, and we can't really deal with that. So with that, come back tomorrow, because that's what we're discussing. When changing the thought doesn't work, then there's actually something that we can do to change our perspective so that we can change the thought. So that is what we're going to discuss tomorrow. In the meantime, make sure that you get your emotional intelligence toolbox. I'm going to share the emotion journal handout for you to start noticing and practicing, recognizing your own emotions and managing your behavior, and working with maybe changing your behavior in situations where you want to change it. So I'm going to put the link for you to get your resources, to check the replay, get the emotion journal handout. And I am also sharing further support with the Lead for Legacy League. This is a group online global program for management and leadership development. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to share some information about it as well. It gives you access to the technical knowledge that you need as a team leader or as a team manager, and also access to group coaching and community, and a lot of brainstorming and networking. So with that said, tomorrow, same time, we discuss power poses, body language, and how they influence our mindset. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for joining me. Absolutely ask your questions or make your comments wherever you're catching this replay, and see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.